And welcome to the September 9th Claims Committee meeting. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Wall,
Here.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Present.
Council Vice President Vargas, Councilman Ferry,
Present.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano.
Present.
President Reed is not here.
Next item of business would be public comment. That would be public comment on agenda matters only. Sir, would you please, you got to press the button and please state your name and address for the record.
Okay, so excuse me, my name is Michael Bucci. My address is 50 Hyde Street, Cranston. I'm here on behalf of my dad, 92, almost 93-year-old Pascal Bucci, who has a claim in for overpaid property taxes going to the fact that he is a 100% disabled veteran and learned that he was entitled to full disability on his property taxes, didn't take advantage of, was unaware of it, and didn't take advantage of it until tax year of 2024. So the issue is from 2019 to 2023 taxes. So I've submitted to Chris, our councilman, a letter stating the matter with some other accompanying information. And I thought I would come here just, to answer any questions that anyone may have, but apparently that's not how this format works. So I guess I'm just on the record that I'm here.
Thank you, sir.
I will take questions if anybody has one. But
We're not allowed that.
Okay.
As I'm sure Mr. Papalakis.
All right. Yes, he
Still
did.
doing.
He phoned me in. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Is there any public comment online?
I see no public comment.
This time we'll close public comment. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Poor guy came over here for nothing.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano.
Yes. We're in executive session. session.
So moved.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Let me just for the record, let me state that there were votes taken during the executive session. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to seal the executive session minutes.
Second.
Okay, clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
This time I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the August 15th regular meeting.
So moved.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a question for the next item. It says approve the sealed minutes of August 15th. Didn't we just approve of that? It's twice. Is that a typographical error?
Can't hear you. The mic.
All right, there's just one of the lines was redundant. All right, so at this time, there's be no further business before the Claims Committee. This time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the Claims meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Clerk, please call the roll. Instead, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned.
Are you ready? Anybody need a break? You need a minute? Certainly. Everyone, I'd like to call the September Safety Service and Licensing Committee meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please take a roll.
Councilman Ferry,
Present.
Council Vice President Vargas, Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Present.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Present.
Councilman Wall,
Here.
Council President Marino.
Present.
I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of the August 15th regular meeting.
Motion to approve.
Do I have any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes?
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Marino. Yes.
At this time, I'd like to open up public comment. Is there anyone here in council chambers that would like to make public comment on any docketed item that is on the safety services agenda this evening? Okay, I see. You have to, if you want to hear to make comment on any docketed item on the safety services agenda, you can step forward. State your name and address for the record. Is the green light on? State your name and address for the record, please. You're free to speak for up to 3 minutes.
What we'd like to speak about is overnight parking, which I believe is on the docket. We've lived at our home for almost 20 years. We've owned our home there. When we first bought our home, we were told that there was a parking pass or some type of permit, parking permit, because we don't have a driveway. So we were told that. Being first-time homeowners, that was something that, you know, we didn't question it because why would we think somebody would lie? We soon found out that that was not the truth. And, you know, for the majority of years that we've lived there, it hasn't been a major issue. My husband worked overnights. So for the most part, one of the cars was gone. We've made a little kind of parkway where a smaller car can fit. But for the most part, we have one car that is on the street. In the last 2 years, but for the most part, mainly this year, there's been an increase in ticketing in that area, specifically in the Edgewood area, Smith Street, Bayview, Northup. It seems like those areas are ticketed and targeted more than other streets. When we, drive around, and yes, I know it's against the law. I have come here many times to ask about, what is the situation with overnight parking or the approval of overnight parking. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem paying for a pass to park my car on the street where I pay taxes every year faithfully. And now we're paying almost $600, a couple of tickets a month which we can't afford to do. And those in that area, there definitely are more cars and people. I think there's more times that people are parking on the street that don't have driveways than people just, kind of having parties and being on the street. Like I said, in recent year plus, there's been a lot more, and it's the same officer, same ticket that's there each time. So again, I feel like it's completely targeted, and I just want to know, if Providence, which is a much bigger state, can pull off overnight parking, why is this such an issue in Cranston?
Thank you.
Oh, I just want to add, and to that, I mean, I think I was reading before, prior to that is, I don't understand what the issue is because there's only a certain amount of houses on that street that don't have two parkings. And I feel like I think it should be, addressed that if people apply for it, I think you guys should probably look into it. It's not everybody that needs it on that particular street. There's people that probably shouldn't be parked there, but in our case, yeah, we need to. It's probably like, if I not right, maybe like 4 houses on that particular street, that block. Everybody else, whatever. I think even with the officers, I mean, by judgment call, they can see when they run the plates, they can see that our particular house or the houses on that street, they don't have to ticket it because they know there's no driving there or parking. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to make public comment on any docketed item? Is there anyone on Zoom?
I see no public comment.
Just to let you know, the people that were just up here, how this works is we can't have a back and forth discussion with you on this. But later in the docket, we are going to have a discussion amongst ourselves about this. And at that time, we will probably call up Major Padalano to weigh in on this at the time. So the council, Vice President Vargas has this on the agenda and she'll get to speak, but we can't do it right now. We can't go back and forth with you on this. It's not that we don't want to discuss it with you. Okay. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to close public comment. I'd like to make a note that, at a safety services meeting, all motions to approve business licenses appearing on this agenda are approved, subject to receipt of all documentation and fees paid by the city's clerk office. So next we have public hearings. Is there anyone present from auto repair license for J&J Corporation doing business as Caravan Auto? Would you please step forward and state your name and address for the record, please?
Hey, Amin Jamous, 40 Newberry Street. A-M-I-N. My last name is Jamous.
Okay, I see here on the docket that it says that we still have not received an approved fire inspection.
Okay.
So we are unable to approve the license until we have an approved fire inspection license. So has there been any, as of 3 o'clock this afternoon with the clerk's office, they told me that it still hadn't been received. Do you have any idea what the status is on that?
On the, for the fire installation, I mean, I went to the fire department and they, I just needed to add the lockbox, they told me. So I added the lockbox and everything else checked out to code. And that's what I did. And I brought the lockbox and I put it into the building. And that was the last thing that I was told.
Did you call the fire inspector to get re-inspected?
We're still waiting on for him to come out.
Do you have an appointment?
They said they're supposed to stop in like within this week.
Solicitor Videcchia?
Everything he says may be true, unfortunately, without evidence that the inspection has been done and he's been approved. We still can't issue the license.
We're not going to be able to approve the license tonight without that certificate.
All right.
Okay. Sorry. Can I have a motion to continue this?
Motion to continue.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano, Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Marine.
Yes.
What I could tell you is that if you were to get this certificate within the next week or so, okay, we have other meetings during the month. And we could have a special meeting before one of those meetings to get you the license sooner. So you need to keep in touch with the clerk's office. And as soon as you get the inspection and the certificate, you need to get to the clerk's office and let her know. And then she'll contact me and we could schedule a meeting at the end of the month during the regular council meeting or something, but we can't give you the license right now. I'm very sorry. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have a show cause for pregame lounge. I'd like to call Solicitor Videcchia up to fill us in on what's going on with this.
Thank you, Chairman. And some of you, most of you may be wondering why this is on again, and I'll explain it in this way, because this particular establishment does have a long history with the committee and with the council. So we were here, as you may recall, on July 1st. At that time, Colonel Winquist testified at a show cause hearing. I submitted on behalf of the city approximately 9 exhibits. Between his testimony and the exhibits that were introduced, it was the city's position that the continued operation of the pregame lounge constituted a threat to the public health, safety, welfare, and morals of the city. At that time, I asked the committee to take a vote revoking the 2 remaining licenses that they possessed at that time. One was the BV license, which authorized them to serve alcohol. The other was the victualling license. After a vote, the committee, in fact, revoked both of those licenses, and they have been in a revoked status since July 1st. Just to bring you up to speed a little bit as to what's transpired subsequent to that, Attorney Nick Heeman contacted me maybe a week and a half to 2 weeks after that decision. He did in fact file an emergency motion for a stay with the Department of Business Regulation on the BV license, the alcohol license. At that time, the hearing officer Catherine Warren, did not take any action on that issue. And the reason for that is because as long as the victualling license remains in a revoked status, even if she were to be inclined to temporarily reinstate the alcohol license, the pregame still could not operate because, as you're probably aware by now from me saying it over the years, you cannot have a B license to serve alcohol standing alone. You have to have a victualling license, which is why they're referred to as BV licenses. So it would have been essentially an exercise in futility at that point for her to reinstate them. Now, at the time that we had that hearing, that was done on an emergency type of a basis. And the genesis of the request for hearing at that time and the show cause hearing at that time was because of a very concerning incident which took place at the pregame lounge. Namely, there was a raid, a criminal raid, which resulted in very serious drug charges being brought against the proprietor of the pregame lounge. And based on that, in addition to the several exhibits that I introduced, the city established that, again, the continued operation of the pregame lounge would constitute a hazard to the health, safety, welfare, and morals to the people of Cranston. Now, that was done in the same manner as we revoked or the committee revoked, I should say, the entertainment license the year before. And what we did at that time was to ensure that the pregame lounge had a full opportunity to present their case. And because of due process concerns, what we did was we revoked, again, I'm saying the committee revoked at my request the entertainment license, but we did allow subsequent to that revocation on an emergency basis. We allowed them to present any additional evidence they wanted to present. And that was in the interests of, again, due process concerns. I was concerned. I didn't want them to take an appeal and make the argument that we did not give an adequate opportunity for them to present their case. So this is a similar situation. So Attorney Heeman and I have been discussing this. He would like the opportunity. He has been hired subsequent to July 1st. He would like the opportunity to present whatever mitigating evidence he feels helps his client, and he would like the committee to consider it. And I have no objection to that. I think it's a good idea. Again, this is in the interests of ensuring due process, so we're not questioned if and when this is appealed. So to that end, we have agreed to a consent order, which I'm going to ask the clerk to accept, and I'm going to ask the committee simply to take a vote to accept this consent order that we entered into. Basically, all it says is that Attorney Heeman, on behalf of 401 Nightlife LLC, will have up to September 23rd to submit whatever documents, whatever information, whatever evidence he feels is mitigating for his client. I will then have 10 days to respond. And then what we will do is the next Safety Services meeting, which I believe is October, it's right at the beginning of the month. It's either October 2nd, October 3rd, something like that. At that time, the committee can consider the evidence again. I'll ask for another vote in consideration of this additional evidence that's being brought in. So it is on for show cause hearing tonight, but this will streamline the process. There was no point, we both agreed, in him coming here tonight and arguing orally when he can do this by written memoranda and I can respond. So at the present time, we're going to enter this consent order. I just asked for a motion to accept the consent order and make it part of the record. And what will happen over the next few weeks, we will supplement the record. We will come back on October 3rd, at which time I will be renewing my motions for
It's
revocation.
October 7th.
October 7th, my mistake. October 7th. So the next safety services meeting, we will basically revisit this, having given them a complete and full opportunity to present their case. You may recall that night, a young woman showed up. She is one of the proprietors, but she was not prepared to go forward. She didn't have an attorney. She didn't want to speak. So in the interests of, again, fair play and in the interest of having a complete and full record in the event of appeal, this is the way I think we should proceed.
All right, can I have a motion to accept the consent order?
Motion to accept the consent order.
Second.
Any discussion on accepting that? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano, Councilman Paplaskas.
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
It is, the next safety services meeting is on October 7th.
That's fine. So, Chairman, I would ask that, well, that the matter tonight, the show cause, be held in abeyance and continued for decision October 7th.
Yeah.
Why don't we do a motion, please?
Have a
Motion to continue.
continue this to October 7th. Second,
Second.
any discussion on continuing? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Marino. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Solicitor. So, next item we have is an auto repair license new for Bridgestone Retail Operations LLC doing business as Firestone Complete Auto Care. Is there anyone here from that establishment tonight? You could step forward, please state your name and address for the record.
First name, Michael. Last name is spelled Donofrio, 219 Forest Avenue, Ambler, Pennsylvania, 19002.
Charles Panoni, Pannone, 171 Rangeley Road, Cranston, Rhode Island, 02920.
All right, if you want to explain to us exactly what's going on.
Applying for a business license for auto repair.
And it lists your hours here, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sunday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Is that currently a location that has an auto repair business?
No,
What is there now?
it was abandoned building before. It was just empty.
All right. May I have a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve.
All right, any discussion or questions for the applicant from the committee?
Great. Thank you.
Glad to hear that. Any other questions or comments for the applicant? Okay, no discussion. Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that license.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Okay, congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. And always be mindful to be a good neighbor to everyone that's in the area. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next, we have LJW Auto Solutions LLC. Would you please step forward, state your name and address for the record?
Leo Weeks, 766 Reservoir Avenue, Cranston. Leo Weeks, Weeks.
Okay, I see here that everything is in order. May I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second?
Second.
All right, any discussion, questions for the applicant from the committee?
Yes. Correct. Yeah, she's my mother. Yeah. You're welcome.
Any other questions for the applicant? Councilman Donegan?
best of luck. Just to ask, be mindful in terms of, parking vehicles along the street and maybe obstructing the sidewalk. That's been a concern of times from some of the other businesses that are there, just because with the apartment complex, like right across the street, sometimes it can be difficult for them to get around. So just be mindful of that and wish you all the success.
Thank you.
You know, as I stated to the other gentleman, always be a good neighbor. If people complain, they come to us, we're gonna have to call you in here and ask you why they're questioning us. So it's always best to be just a good neighbor and be mindful of the surrounding area. Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that license.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
You might as well stay right there. Now we have a used auto dealer license for the same applicant, LJW Auto Solutions. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Next, we have a victualling license for J and K Subway LLC located at 962 Cranston Street. Is there anyone here from that establishment? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Jacqueline Mallett, M-A.
Please speak right into the microphone.
Jacqueline Mallett, Mallett. I live at 305 Shady Hill Drive in East Greenwich.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Good luck with your business. Thank you. Next, we have a victualling license for Naga Brew Haven located at 180 Gansett Avenue. Is there anyone here from that establishment? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Kamla Nirando. Kamla Nirando. KHAMLA. NIRANDONA. Here. Address, right? 45 Garden Drive, Riverside, 02915. You're welcome.
Okay, I noticed that as of 3 PM today, the clerk's office has not received the certificate of occupancy.
Oh, so I been working with, his name, Frank Polino. The whole process is like, we need funds for this, to get that. And, originally, I thought it was all set because the previous owner had his license. But I'm gonna do what we're gonna do. We did apply for permit, the plumber did apply for the permit. I, have picture here to show it. I think he did it after 3 PM today. So I try to plead that the shop is already open. It has been a shop before, the plumbing has been there. So I'm willing to work on it. We just try to find funds and figure out how everything, we did apply for permit and finding out what it's gonna take. But my question is it possible to get a temporary, business license and be able to do it?
Attorney Videcchia?
I think I recall this from last month's meeting,
Yes.
and it's been 6 weeks now. What is the issue with getting the certificate of occupancy? What's the holdup?
Well, there's already plumbing there. So when I bought this business, it was already approved business. So I assumed the plumbing issue was all set. So just to refresh what happened is that the inspecting department is saying that they never approve it. And I did further research. There was document that they applied for it. So I don't know what happened, and I'm not gonna point fingers. I'm not gonna win. I know I need to do what I need to do at this point, but I'm low in funds. because it was never occurred to me that I have to assign funds because I was trusting that, hey, this man has his business license, that everything that he has, the 3 base sink and everything is all set. But the city said, hey, what I meant is the zoning department, they say they never recognize it. But upon further research with the clerk office, they did have, the previous owner did apply for it. So there was something happened, fell into the crack, but at this point, it doesn't matter. I know I need to apply for the license and I'm asking if I can get a temporary license, get the business open and be able to get some funds. But that's all I'm asking.
You see, unfortunately, because this is you're selling food, beverages, and it is a health and safety concern. And without a certificate of occupancy, that's basically another way of the Department of Inspections saying that the business is not 100% up to the requirements of not only our ordinances, but Rhode Island law as well. And if something were to happen, if you were allowed to operate, unfortunately, if somebody got food poisoning, and I'm not suggesting this, the city could be in trouble for letting you operate. That's why we have the inspections and that's why the certificates are issued, because that's basically a stamp saying, yep, you're good to go. So unfortunately, there is no such temporary license as you're seeking. It's all or nothing at this point. And it would just be, I would strongly recommend that the committee not grant this until we get the certificate of occupancy. Now, we haven't heard from any of the inspectors. I think I mentioned this last month because I know you'd spoken about
Yeah.
inspectors coming down, but we don't have their input. We're just basing this on your representation, which is why we insist on these documents, so we don't have to bring 10 people in. And without that, unfortunately, I would have to recommend to the committee that the license not be granted at this point.
Madam Clerk, do we have any kind of a report from Franklin Paulino or the Inspections Department as to the status of her getting her license?
We haven't received anything from inspections. I know Mr. Paulino, I'm not sure if he's met with the applicant yet, but he was getting in touch with her to try
He
and
did. I met with
get
him
her some funding.
several times.
How was it left with you as to far as exactly what's needed and what was the timeline that they were gonna give you?
So we didn't go anywhere far because we tried to get in touch with the inspector. They say we wouldn't meet us. So Mr. Paulino came into the building. He said everything, he's like, okay, she's not cooking. I'm not bringing food. I'm not making food. We are serving food. Well, we're having outside, professional vendor who bring that because the facility is small. So we basically just specialize in making specialty coffee. And the concern is, well, you're a restaurant, you consider a restaurant, there's a 3 base sink. What if you pour, how do we pour in already made food? And I'm trying to understand because I've been working in the restaurant business before. And it's like, now it goes down to you need grease trap. I was like, okay, there's another budget for that. So at this point, I realized after 6 weeks, I'm not going anywhere and I'm not going to win, no matter what the reason was. So he tried to reach out to the engineer I think Ed, I don't know what his last name, to meet me, but it didn't go anywhere. Nobody met me. I talked over the phone. They were like, oh, we don't have time for this. So at this point is why the 6 weeks has passed, has been delayed. It's not because I didn't do anything. I couldn't get in touch with the right people. They just wouldn't talk without. I tried to explain the situation and they're like, well, you have 3 base sink. I get it. 3 base sink is wash, you rinse, you sanitize. It does not regulate. I know they have their fancy way of expressing all of this. And I was like, it's coffee and water. We're not. It's like, what if you make food? Well, if I make food at that point, wouldn't I have to apply for the license? And, I'm in the city, but On and on. I don't want to bore you with all the things I did, but this is what, I didn't want to go all the details, but this is what happened. Also is why I'm here is like, can we get a temporary license? And whatever decision you make at this point, I just have to settle for it and we'll go from there. But we did apply for permit and so that way we can have the inspector telling us and meet us because they wouldn't meet us at the physical facility if we don't do that, apparently.
It looks like we're not going to be able to approve the license tonight, but my recommendation to you would be to get on the phone tomorrow and call Franklin Paulino up and tell him that you need help getting to the finish line. Okay, he needs to contact the inspector. Then maybe they need to both go there at the same time and they need to give you a list of exactly what it is you need to do to get done so you can open your business and you can make a living and pay taxes to the city of Cranston. I'm really sorry that you're in this situation. We do not have the power to do any of the things I just told you. We can't force anybody to go there to help you. We can't make the plumbing inspector go there. We do not have the power to do any of that. I'm sorry. But
I believe that Frank Polino did his best, but he said he met, it just, he said you have to talk to him yourself. And at this point, I'm just gonna go the standard route. We did apply for the permit. We're gonna wait for the permit and see what they're gonna say. I will talk to Frank Polino to where we at, just so we can go to the proper channel and, just however long it takes.
all right, what I'm going to do is recommend to the committee that we continue this to next month. If by any chance you were to get this completed within a week or 10 days, we have a council meeting at the end of the month before the next safety services meeting. We would be glad to have that special meeting if you were to get done. So please keep in touch with the clerk's office. And that's the only thing we can offer you right now is to have a meeting sooner than the October 7th meeting.
I appreciate it.
All right,
Thank
good
you.
luck. Can I please have a motion to continue this?
Motion to continue.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Horoyan, Councilman Campiano, Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Reno. Yes.
Sorry, we can't help you tonight. Thank you. Next, we have the Wings and Juice Spot. Is there anyone present from that location? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Meera Thakrar, Thakrar. The business is on my name. The address is 156 Genset Avenue. My corporation is Guru Link Incorporation, doing business as the Wings and Juice Spot. I had put in a request for the extension of the hours. I was not here the last meeting we had on July 1st. My family was here, but I had put in a request, a re-request to consider the extension of the hours. And I had given a note on what grounds I'm seeking that extension. It's just I don't want to be competing with my neighbors. Like we have a New York style pizza place. They are also selling wings. I just want to work together. So if I get an extension from 10 to 2, we can cover the third shift and we can work with night crews, night staff and stuff like that. And also we are not selling any tobacco items or any substances that we will be creating problems. Also, we are planning to utilize DoorDash, Grubhub and Uber Eats. So we will not be like liable for the drivers on the street because we'll be paying them 30%, so they are liable. So, and we want to cover a larger radius in Rhode Island for the delivery services. And it's an air fried food, so we are not using any deep frying and stuff. So I thought like, I'll give it a try to request. And it will allow us extension like of the hours, so we all can be in the business rather than competing.
Okay. Should I get a motion first? Oh, hold on one sec.
Currently, we own 7-Eleven at 535 Reservoir Avenue, and we have been doing the night business, the 24/7. And it is working and we are experienced with that.
If everyone remembers, last month, this applicant came forward and she requested, I don't think she was here. I think somebody represented her. And we changed the hours and now she's requesting and a document was just handed to us. Attorney Videcki, could you please explain to us exactly what this?
Yeah, sure. I do recall this as well. And at that time, the applicant had sent a proxy for lack of a better term. And I think there may have been a little bit of a miscommunication, maybe a misunderstanding on her part. And I do recall some discussion back and forth about would she be in agreement with limiting the closing time to 10 p.m. And I believe there was an agreement. Now, strictly speaking, whenever someone seeks to expand their operating hours, it's supposed to be advertised 3 weeks, so on and so forth. And I was contacted by the clerk and she asked me, in my opinion, if we should just do this as a reconsideration as opposed to going through the formal process of an expansion request. And I felt that given the facts of the case, that there did seem to be a miscommunication. I felt that it was more appropriate now that the actual applicant is here to simply revisit the matter. So with that being said, I think if the committee sees fit, it would be appropriate to reconsider her request to close at 2 a.m. as opposed to 10. I would just add that when I look at the state law regarding victualling licenses, there's a little bit of an ambiguity in the statute because on the one hand, it says that the city and town councils have the power, including the setting of hours when it comes to these types of licenses. But just a couple of sentences down, it then says that an applicant is entitled to operate from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. Now, obviously, 2 a.m. to 6 is a completely different thing. That's a different license. That's an all-night license. She would have to come back, but there is ambiguity in the statute. I think that word entitled is pretty powerful. It would seem that there isn't much discretion, even though at the beginning of the statute, it says you have discretion, but then it seems to take it away. I don't have an explanation as to why it's worded that way. But if the committee sees fit to allow her to operate to 2 a.m., I think that would probably be an appropriate outcome.
Because my goal is like to do like the pure goal is to do like juices and bowls in the daytime. So I don't compete with the next door businesses. And later on in the evening, I want to drive my wings business. So which can take me to overnight, third shifts and the emergency crews. And because of the 7-Eleven experience, like during the winter times, we want to keep the coffee terminals for the state employees if they're doing snow plowing and stuff like that. So that's one of the things we want to add for them on us. So like we have a clear goal, like it's not like we are trying to sell any substances or I'll come for alcohol license or I purely want to do a business like, and I want to add custard for kids during the daytime when we start making money because those machines are expensive.
I think the concern at the time during that meeting was that you're in a neighborhood, there are houses behind you. And the committee was concerned that there could be, noise, there could be cars and it would be a disruption to the neighborhood.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Because this is totally a takeout. It's hardly any dined in. And after 9:30, the doors will be shut and we will be purely going on Uber Eats, DoorDash and Grubhub. So all they will do is they'll come pick up the delivery and leave. Because that's the same model we are doing at 7-Eleven right now. Overnight, they just come pick up the deliveries and leave.
Attorney Videcki, if we were to approve this tonight, and then we find out we're getting a lot of complaints about it, what position would we be in to change those hours?
I believe that if there were sufficient complaints with regard to this operation, we would follow the process that we do with every licensee in the city. Namely, we would send a show cause. We would bring the applicant in again, and we would hear the evidence. And at that point in time, notwithstanding my comments on what the state law says, I find it extremely hard to believe that a court would not uphold the committee's actions if you wanted to constrict those hours of operation under those circumstances.
Okay, to give the committee the opportunity to weigh in on this, may I have a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve.
Okay, any discussion or questions for the applicant from the committee? Councilman Donegan?
Thank you. First of all, I represent the area. I live right around the corner and I wish you nothing but success.
Thank you.
My concern is that while I recognize it's going to be takeout or not, I'm sorry, DoorDash, that kind of service from a certain time onwards, the dumpsters and everything that are behind the business, which I would assume when the shift ends at 2 a.m., people are going to need to take trash out, close down the shop, do all that. That could be disruptive to the residences that are quite literally right behind the business. And I have to sit here and think to myself and ask myself the question, if I lived at 210 Flint Ave, right behind your business and several others, would I want my city council person to approve a license for a business to be open until 2 a.m.? And I can't sit there and say to myself, yes, I would. And so I wouldn't want that in my backyard until 2 a.m. I very much want your business around the corner. But I wouldn't want it in my backyard open until 2 a.m. And if I wouldn't want that, I don't think it would be fair for me to expect that of my neighbors. So I can't support 2 a.m. at this point. I would be open, 10 p.m. was a compromise. I think 11 p.m. would be willing to go about there for me personally representing the area. And then if there are no issues, we can always come back 6 months from now, put a 6-month kind of reevaluation on it and say, there haven't been any issues. Let's let them open when they want to be open until. But I think off the bat, 2 a.m., I can't agree with that. And just a little historical context, there have been other times where we as a committee, and this isn't to, I always appreciate your input, solicitor, but there have been other times where we have, as a committee, have put restrictions on operating hours throughout my time on the city council. So I feel okay doing that.
Councilwoman Horoyan?
I also have concerns with this time. I myself live about 5 houses in from Reservoir Ave, and you mentioned mostly it's going to be a delivery service, DoorDash. Those drivers drive around very fast, radio blasting, and it's 1 house away from residential area. 2 a.m. is extremely late, especially on a work day. I wouldn't want something that close to my house being open till 2, being a new business. I would be okay with 11 o'clock, maybe 2 on Fridays, but not during the week on a new business. Maybe after you're open for some time, come back.
I mean, I'll definitely take the decision, whatever is given to us today, but I definitely request to give us a chance because we are already experienced. And like you are mentioning about the DoorDash being very noisy and all that, I mean, then it applies to all the businesses. Why am I being excluded from this? So, but I request to give us a chance and let us try it. And I'll definitely comply with the town's regulation and city's regulation. So say even if you get 1 or 2 complaints, I'll make sure there is no complaint about the dumpster thing and all that. I will make sure because that's what we are currently doing, using the protocols. We will not wait till 2 o'clock. We will get most of the things done by 10:30 p.m. We will train our employees in future whenever we hire. We will make sure that is all done prior to 2 a.m. So we are not bothering our neighborhoods and residents. But I'll request to give us an opportunity, because that's the whole reason we are going with DoorDash, Grubhub, and Uber. We are giving them 30% of our profits. So we are not, we don't have to worry about insurance, vandalism, and all that stuff. It's their responsibility. but don't exclude my business out of DoorDash. You know what I mean? If they will not order through me, they will order through somebody else. So that delivery will be going this way or that way. So I also want to take advantage of that. So if I'm given a chance, I want to prove it. And we are experienced. So far, we have never landed in any problems or any complaints. We've always complied with the city's regulations. That's all I can say.
Council Vice President Vargas?
Thank you. Question, how long have you been in business already there? I think you just
At the
came before us.
reservoir,
Yeah, the one right now they're trying to, the one they're trying to extend the
the-
hours to.
This one, we haven't opened it yet. We just
Not
got our
open.
inventory and everything in today. This week, we are planning to open up. My internet and phone connections are coming tomorrow.
Okay, so
we
you're,
haven't opened yet. It's in the process. We got all the approvals and everything is ready.
okay, but you're looking forward to opening soon within the next maybe week or month or so.
No, in next couple of days.
The next
I got
couple of
my
days,
inventory
okay.
Started coming in today from US Foods.
What I would say is, I agree with the councilman, Councilman Donegan, you haven't also opened yet. I would say definitely open the business, see how it goes. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I will. You can always come back and then ask for the hours to be extended, but I would say give it the opportunity to be open first. We're all pro-business, everyone that is sitting here. I don't want to speak, we have my colleagues, but I can say we really are. But I personally would say give it a try with the hours that we have and then come back and
So
we can extend
can
it if needed.
Can I go back to Christine's, the thing? At least if you can give us like Friday, Saturday and Sunday till 2 a.m., that will be the busy. And Monday to Thursday. I mean, because I'm doing my best. It's like because, the New York style pizza has the wings and everything. So I know that I will not be able to match that in the daytime. And they close at 8:30, 9 o'clock, then I can pick up.
Councilman Paplaskas?
Thank you, Chair. You know, I struggle with this one. That area is not really conducive to having a business open till 2 a.m. with the homes right behind it. And I want to see you succeed. And I know everybody on this council is pro-business. I could see maybe extending it on the Friday and Saturday, but what Councilman Donegan said, when you close up at 2 o'clock, you're going to take your trash out, you're going to lock the building up, you're going to start your car. I think of the school kids that are sleeping in the house right behind the restaurant or, in the neighborhood there it's going to be noisy. So I'll defer to the ward councilman on this. I mean, I would maybe go a little later on a Friday and Saturday, but like I said, we don't even have a track record to go on. You're not even open yet. We don't usually see people come back and ask for an hour request a month after we just approve something.
It is
So,
just because we already are having 6 years 7-Eleven, which is in business, which is right a mile on the 535 Reservoir Avenue. So that's why, I mean, because we are experienced, we just wanted to.
no, and I understand that,
Right.
but, I tend to agree with the ward councilman on this one, but if I were personally amenable to extending any of the hours, it would just be Friday, Saturday, maybe Thursday, but that's as far as I would go, but I don't think 2 a.m., I think 2 a.m. is too late. So that's just my opinion.
Council President?
Thank you. Similar to my colleagues, I think that it's too much of a residential area. That's why I know in the first round, I supported the hours that we granted. I'm not going to be in favor of 2 a.m. for a new business, particularly too. What hasn't been mentioned tonight is that it's 7 a.m. I mean, that's a long time for operation of a business that hasn't had that business there right next to a residential neighborhood. So similar to my colleagues, and I have to say, with discussion this evening, even with Friday and Saturday evening, the most I would be inclined to do would be 12 p.m. I would not be looking, or 12 a.m. I should say. I would not be agreeable to anything past midnight. I won't be, and definitely not on the weekdays. 10, I think, is sufficient. That's my 2 cents. Thanks.
Anyone else? Councilman Wall?
Councilman Donegan being, as my colleague said, Councilman Donegan being the man who represents that area, I'm going to lean toward in favor of his compromise, I think it's reasonable. He also offers the opportunity to come back after you do have a track record. I think it's a fair compromise. But Mr. Chairman, would you need me to withdraw my motion to approve in favor of that?
Well, I haven't weighed in yet. I will go along with my colleagues and agree that maybe 2 AM is too late. However, okay, I would like it to be where you could have those hours, try it out. If it works out, it's fine. And if we get complaints, we would bring you in. So, but I'm not going to be the only one standing on that ledge, okay? I'd be in favor of midnight. The person, she's trying to run a business. She needs to compete with her competition. She has to be able to compete with the other businesses that do that, okay? For her to compete with them, closing at 10 o'clock is not going to give her an opportunity to compete. I've been a small businessman my whole life. I know what you need to do to compete with the following businesses. If we could let her go till midnight and it doesn't work out, we can bring it back and reduce the hours. But there are other businesses that are open to midnight that are going to be doing what she does. And how can she compete with them if she can't stay open till midnight? That's my thought on the matter, okay? So that would be how I would feel. We have a motion now to approve the hours till 2 AM, okay?
I'm going to withdraw my motion to approve.
So the motion's been withdrawn. Can we modify the hours in a motion here?
Motion to deny the request.
Just let me answer the chairman's question first. You have the discretion to set the hours. I gave you my opinion on what the state law reads. I can't stand here and tell you how a reviewing court would look at this definitively. It depends. I think that it's subject to different interpretations. To Councilman Donegan's earlier point that we've basically set earlier closing hours, if my memory serves me correctly, those were mostly, if not entirely, on BV licenses, which involved the serving of alcohol. And the state law is crystal clear when it comes to BV licenses. The towns and cities have absolute discretion to close earlier, but this is just victualling. There's no alcohol involved here. So it's a different animal, if you like. I think the concerns that are expressed are legitimate concerns, and I really, as I stand here, and it's just my opinion, I think a court would uphold a reasonable restriction prior to 2 AM. To answer your question, Chairman, you can make a motion and you can set hours depending on the week, whether it's a weekday, whether it's a weekend. If you so choose, that is going to be in the discretion of the committee.
I mean, I will go with the, whatever city decides. Yes, definitely I'm here for a request, but I'm willing to work with the city. I don't want to go past anybody's decision.
There's a motion on the floor, is there not?
There is no motion on the floor right now.
We withdrew it. Can we
The
suggest?
motion to deny
All right. Second.
in a second. This discussion. Councilman Donegan.
I'll make this as a compromise. I'm not willing respectfully to move off the hours, but I'm willing to amend the motion to create an automatic for this to come back in 6 months. That way we can hear, I won't be here, but for the body to take the issue up again to see if it's something that should be extended. So I'll make a motion to deny the request to 2 AM and to have a subsequent hearing in 6 months on a possible extension.
Holding the hours to 10 PM. Attorney Videcchia.
As a procedural matter, I think you're better off doing this in 2 separate motions, Councilman Donegan, just to keep the record clear, because it's a little bit confusing. I think what you're talking about is basically putting this on for some type of a status or review in 6 months. So I think you should take the first vote, either you're voting this up or down, or you're amending it in some fashion, depending on how that vote goes. The status in 6 months may be superfluous at that point. I don't know, but if it's not, we can make another motion. You can make another motion to put it on for status.
Then I'll just leave it as my motion to deny.
Councilman Paplaskas?
Thank you, Chairman. You know, I'm struggling with this, and I struggled with this last month because 10 o'clock on a Friday and Saturday is really tough for a restaurant business. Those are at least 2 nights where you can make a little extra money. People are up later. You know, you get out of the movies 9:30, 10 o'clock, and you want to pick up some wings on the way home. You know, they're already closed. So I wish the motion was to modify the Friday, Saturday hours to maybe midnight or 11 at least. I really like midnight. And do that review, but do the review sooner. I think the review should be in December. I think 6 months is too far. That way, at least this body who's familiar with this gets to see it again on our, our last month that we're together. So that's my 2 cents on the motion. There's a motion to deny, so that's my thoughts on that.
Okay, I agree with Councilman Paplaskas. I'd like to see it at least Friday and Saturday till midnight.
I'll withdraw my motion to deny. I'll make a motion to amend the hours for Friday and Saturday until 11 PM. And then we can come back.
Second that.
Anyone else? There's a motion on the floor?
There's a motion to amend the hours as Councilman Donegan stated.
Any other discussion?
Was there a second? I couldn't hear it.
Madam Clerk, please take a vote.
Just for clarification, Friday and Saturday, 7 AM to 11 PM. And Monday and the other days, 7 to 10. Okay. Councilman Ferry,
No.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
No.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Reno.
Yes.
So it's been agreed that it would be Friday and Saturday till 11 and the other days would be till 10.
So I have a question, how
Well-
soon I can come back for the?
Chairman,
Yes.
she's had
Yeah.
multiple opportunities to
We-
speak. Well, I mean,
The
that's
vote
not a
has been
roll
done
call.
up. Thank you.
Can I make one more motion on this?
Is there a motion to review in 3 months or?
Yeah, that's the motion I like to make. Like to make a motion to review this application again in December, safety services.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote.
Councilman Ferry.
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas, Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas.
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Reno.
Yes.
I come back in this, I can come back.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you.
Could we just ask the applicant call our office tomorrow? We'll discuss it with her.
Can you call the office tomorrow so she can discuss this with you?
Thank you.
Thank you. For those of you in chambers, this is still the safety services meeting. We'll try and get finished as soon as possible. Next, we have new matters before the committee. Is there anyone here from Body Works personnel? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, how are you? My name, Zheng Guan Chen. Last name is CHAEN. My address 35 Glendon Road. Glendon, no. 35 Glendon Road. Yeah, Cranston. So today my wife come here to. Oh,
Speak directly into the microphone, thank you.
okay, sorry. Today I bring my wife come here to the body massage license.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Any discussion or questions for the applicant? Madam Clerk, please take a vote.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Horian, Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
You all set?
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have mobile food establishment license. We need a vote to ratify the action. Grub Guru, is anyone here from Grub Guru? They don't really need to be here, correct, solicitor?
Motion to ratify.
No, they don't.
Second.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the ratify the action.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Councilwoman Horian, Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano, Councilman Paplaskas.
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Okay, we have 3 septic hauler licenses on here. Do I have a motion to approve the block, to accept them as a block?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Councilwoman Horian,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano, Councilman Paplaskas.
Yes.
Councilman Wall.
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Motion to approve the block.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on approving the block.
Councilman Ferry.
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano, Councilman Paplaskas.
Yes.
Councilman Wall.
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Next, we have a victualling license for Damascus Grill. Is there anyone here from Damascus Grill? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Mohammed Katan, 150 Shawamet Avenue, Warwick, Rhode Island. Kattan.
I see here that you still don't have the Rhode Island Department of Health license letter. Correct?
Not that I know of. I thought I handed everything in.
Madam Clerk, at 3 o'clock, I was told that the agenda was as status quo.
So we got the inspection and everything from the department.
But do you have the Rhode Island Department of Health certificate?
Is that for the food safety or is that for the actual business?
It's from the Rhode Island Department of Health.
I'm not 100% sure. I thought I did, but if I'm missing something, I can, figure it out.
If not, that's a non-starter.
No, we have not received it. It's the health approval. They have to come out and inspect the establishment.
We had the inspection. They already did that. When was the inspection?
Haven't gotten the certificate?
They said we were approved. They gave us paperwork. They told us to drop it off to City Hall. So
We know that we've had a situation where they've been like 6 weeks behind on these letters, and we've approved some license sub to the clerk getting the certificate. So I would recommend to the committee that we approve this subject to the clerk receiving. And so you can't open or run the business until the clerk gets that and gives you the license. So do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Subject to the clerk receiving the Rhode Island Department of Health license.
Motion to approve, subject to the clerk receiving the Rhode Island Department of Health license.
Any discussion or questions for the applicant? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas.
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Could you give the clerk a call tomorrow to discuss this and try and get a handle on whether they've put it in the mail or they're going to give you a date on when you're going to receive it? Okay, please. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Let's go. I'd like to have a motion to take the entire block 12.
Motion to take the entire block 12 as a block.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that.
Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas?
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan? Councilman Donegan? Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas?
Yes.
Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Council President Marino?
Yes.
May I have a motion to approve the
Motion
block?
to approve the block.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote on approving the block.
Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas? Councilwoman Horoyan?
Yes.
Councilman Donegan? Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas?
Yes.
Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Council President Marino?
Yes.
Can I have a motion to put into record the schedules for the roads in the Patuxent and Park Theater?
Moved.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a vote.
Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Council Vice President Vargas?
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan? Councilman Donegan? Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas?
Yes.
Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Council President Marino?
Yes.
Oh, it looks like I missed Cranston Stadium on there. Do I have a motion to approve the schedule for Cranston Stadium?
So moved.
Through the chair, there's no list.
No schedule. Okay, good. All right. Next, we have council communications. We have one item on here from Council Vice President Vargas. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate that. The council communication that I have is overnight parking. As we obviously heard this just this evening, that there's a family here and there's been a few other families who've reached out to me in terms of really trying to get an understanding as to the overnight parking in the city, particularly the eastern side, which tends to get affected. From what my understanding as well is that municipal court gets also a overload or an overwhelming amount of folks who live in the city who are getting tagged. And so I think having the city, the police department here also explaining a little bit about, for example, what is the process? How do we end up citing a vehicle overnight? What are the actual hours? But also on our end is as council members, there was an ordinance at one point that was introduced, and I believe it might have been pulled, and that's because I think there was a former counselor who no longer serves on here. But the conversation has been coming up in terms of what are we as a city doing to make sure that those who don't have enough parking are able to actually park their vehicles. We live in a day and age now that particularly there are 2-3 family households that may have each household about 2-3 vehicles. I know in my house, for example, I have my kid who drives, myself, and then my husband. Some residents have the opportunity to park their vehicles in a driveway, some don't. So I have come across some households, some houses where the actual landlord has actually cut down trees, which I hate to see, and really add more space and then even rent it out to some of their neighbors within the same block, only because they know that there's a need. We don't have a public lot that we really encourage folks, if there's an overnight parking, to park their vehicles there. I understand that you could, and I see the Major Padalano here this evening, and I believe my response to a lot of folks have been, depending on what you're getting tagged on, if you have a guest overnight, you could call the police department and they'll make sure that it's not being tagged over the weekend. Or there's a dumpster, I think, on the you're having construction and it's on your driveway and you can't park your vehicles. But I'm bringing this up because we have a family here as well. Everything's expensive. Inflation is real. And there is no other place for, some of our neighbors to really park their vehicle elsewhere. Our public transportation, we're trying to make sure that it gets every day by day into a better place. But the reality is we all own vehicles, but we don't have the space. So I seem to think, and I could be wrong, that at least the area that I have represented so far is very tight and a very dense community. There's pockets of it, right, where there's areas that they do have very wide driveways and long driveways, and there's other areas that there just really isn't. I think it's a time for us, and I'm looking forward and seeing also even the next council introduce hopefully something, have conversations with our chiefs, have conversation, when I say chiefs of fire, the police, and the administration as to what could we potentially do to say, advocate for those who don't have um, access to pay somebody else $200 a month or so forth, or even nowhere to park. Maybe down the line, we also say if there's currently an ordinance, I get it that there is no overnight parking, but perhaps on the line, we have the conversation about maybe we run the plates. I don't know if it comes next to that house that the car's in front of it. Maybe they don't. I know other cities and towns have a permitting system. I have heard from folks that there is an overnight parking, that they don't mind paying a tag for it. But then there's also folks that I have heard that they're like, we pay enough taxes as it is. We have the full right to actually park our vehicles on the street. And then there's other group that just says they love seeing a street that there's no vehicles at all parked overnight. So I'm really bringing this to the forefront because as we heard family this evening, there've been a few others folks who I told them so they can either call in or maybe email the counselors and the administration, really to get this conversation going. And really would like to hear also from the major. I reached out to the chief and, he explained it to me, and it seems to be that most of the time is usually a neighbor that's calling and saying, there's a car and it's parked overnight. And then an officer of that area gets sent over. But I just want to kind of hear it from the police, just the process in itself. And this is, it's really something that I think it's really affecting a lot more of the community. And I think if any one of us was to put out a post or anything saying, let's just do a poll on how you feel about it, I think we're gonna get a lot more of folks saying we want overnight, and maybe down the line piloting a program of overnight. And this is not new. I think we've had this conversation in the past. There was a former council member many years before I even got on the city council who had talked about an overnight parking piloting.
Through the chair, and I apologize for interrupting, but I think we're really kind of straying from the way the docket's worded. It's simply a discussion about how does the enforcement work, and we're talking about permitting, and I think that's a separate discussion. So I'm afraid of, an open meetings issue.
No, of course, of course. So I don't mean to kind of digress and go really into the weeds, but it was more for kind of context or so forth for anyone that's also watching or the folks that are here with us this evening. But perhaps through the chair, we're okay, since we have Major Padalano, maybe he can kind of talk a little bit about the item that's on the agenda.
Major, before you begin, respectfully, the topic is enforcement of overnight parking. Thank you, sir.
So simply put, if someone's parked on the street overnight between the hours of 11 and 7 a.m., 1 and 7 a.m. for 2 consecutive hours, we then write a summons. Well, it's not that easy because you have to go clock the car. We have to mark the tire, make sure it hasn't moved, and it has to be in the street. And they have to wait for 2 hours, then come back and then cite the violation. I can tell you that no officer likes to do this. It's nobody enjoys giving out parking tickets. But we're not out actively looking for cars parked in the street overnight. We get calls from neighbors. We get calls from, right now it's the season. Everybody's out walking and they're talking to the neighbors. And everybody has an issue with cars out parking in the street, whether it's a neighbor they don't like, they can't back out of their driveway because it's on the opposite side of the street where they back out. There's a lot of these complaints. Most of them we're reactive. There's no proactive policing going out for parking violations. And quite frankly, it's been real busy lately. Nobody's out writing these tickets, and we get dispatchers that receive calls from people saying, why aren't you coming ticketing my neighbor's car? And we're flooded with these calls on weekends especially. But there is a remedy for the people in the city if they like to park in the street overnight. I've given extended parking permissions and not just for one night. They can get parking permissions for several nights. They can go on a 30-day extended parking. We do it in the Northup Street. There's houses, quite frankly, the city allowed to be built years ago, and they're so close to each other, they don't have a driveway. So where do you expect these people to park? So we give them a permanent extended parking permission. That doesn't mean it applies to people that have 6 cars in the driveway and don't want to jockey them around every morning to let the first person out or the second person out, because that's usually one of the issues. And listen, I feel for them, but we can't, it has to be systematic and across the board, fair and consistent on how we do things. So that's basically what it is in a nutshell. But if they want to have an extended parking, all they have to do is call the police department, say, tonight we have some people over, give the plate, the vehicle, and they won't get tagged. And that happens quite frequently throughout, and it is more predominantly in the east end of the city. It's a more congested area, houses are on top of each other, 2-3 family homes that have several vehicles. So all they have to do is call the police department. As far as, I know the solicitor didn't want to get into the issue of the permitting. That's certainly, you've had your committees and so forth, the way you've discussed this, and that's more for a broader group to sit down and come up to some common sense solutions. But basically, that's how we enforce it. We're not out there proactively enforcing it. When the complaints build up, we'll send someone out there to ticket the vehicles. Any questions?
Any questions for the major from the committee?
And just so you know, we're writing fewer parking tickets than we've ever done. Municipal court will confirm that. They see it at a dismal rate on the parking tickets.
Okay,
Is, quick question.
certainly.
If, I guess the enforcement, I mean, there, obviously, it's on the books. It's no overnight parking. So until that changes, if that same vehicle was every day to park if that vehicle was parked in the same location or on the same street, either way, they would continuously be tagged every day, right? So they would be tagged every day. Like, there's no kind of limit, like, we've been tagging this car every day.
No, it gets tagged every night. I mean, we run the plate.
The neighbor calls or anyone.
Yeah, we run
Yeah.
the plate. We make sure it's not stolen. And if it's, a lot of times they're not registered to that home, but if they are registered, that really doesn't have no bearing. It's in the street. And again, it's usually because we're getting a call. Someone saying, hey, why isn't a police officer come by here yet? This car's still in the street. We want it tagged. But it's a simple solution. If they tell us we need to park in the street overnight for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or if you do it sporadically on that single night, every Friday night, call us. We'll do it. We'll give it to you. We'll grant you the permission. Be more than happy. The officer on that beat would love to see a parking permission. This way he didn't have to go clock it and tag it and go do other stuff. But I would encourage whoever calls you to just explain that there is an extended parking permission that is allowed.
All right, thank you. To the family that's here, I'm not, it's obviously not going to solve the problem in terms of the overnight today. But I wanted to make sure, and for those that may be watching this later on who had reached out, at least we know what the process is for and what the council could particularly maybe bring this back up and start some sort of, I hate to ask to do another task force or another commission for it, but really start exploring alternative options and working with, as you mentioned, Banger, right? Public safety departments, and everyone else that involves, whether it's CPW and all that, other departments that may impact when there's a vehicle parked.
So the only time we'd ever deny a parking permission is if there was a snowstorm or some inclement weather or something that we can't control, but you're gonna get it. So just, all you gotta do is pick up the phone and call us right into the dispatch and they'll enter it.
Right. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Wall.
Just a follow-up question on the extended parking permission. What length of time do you allow those permissions? I don't know if I heard that.
It's on a case-by-case basis, but I gave a permanent one, back when Steve Stikos was the councilman. He had called me on a couple of houses that, quite frankly, were built on Northup Street and they didn't, for whatever reason, they they're within 5 feet of each other on each side, so they had no driveway. We told them they can park on the street overnight. We gave them permit. We went and looked, make sure the fire trucks could get down and so forth, that a rescue was accessible, and we allowed them to have a permanent parking permission. However, we did tell them that, you know, if there's a snowstorm coming, you've got to get that car on in your neighbor's driveway or make arrangement with someone, put it on the front lawn if you have to, because you will get towed, ticketed, and it will get towed in a snow ban.
Thank you.
But we accommodate if you call, we're going to accommodate you.
Councilwoman Mazzulli.
Thank you, Councilman Ferry. So I just want to just reiterate what Major Catalano just said for the family that's here. If that's what you need, then call the police and try to make arrangements for that. And maybe a similar arrangement could be made for you so that you're not continually ticketed. So that's what I would do if I was in the situation. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll send traffic out and they'll assess it and come back with a report.
Great. Thank you, Major.
Right.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, Chairman. And for the family here, maybe we can have a quick conversation with the Major as well if you're up for it. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Major Catalano. Appreciate it. Seeing that there is no further business, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Everyone, at this time, we're going to call to order the September Finance Committee meeting. Clerk, please take a roll.
Councilman Donegan. Council Vice President Vargas, Councilman Ferry,
Present.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Campiano,
Present.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Present.
Councilman Wall,
Here.
Council President Marino.
Present.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the August meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please take a roll.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
We have a number of matters carried over from previous meetings. It's come to my attention that ordinance 122301 and 122302 seeks to be continued for 1 month. At this time, we'll entertain a motion for continuance on 122301.
Motion to continue.
Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please take a roll.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
At this time, we'll entertain a motion for continuance of 1 month for ordinance 122302.
So
Motion to
moved.
continue.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Next, we have also carried over is ordinance 624-01, ordinance allocating 2.5 million from the American Rescue Plan Act funds for the purpose of supporting school projects, upgrading City of Cranston and CLCF properties, and providing finance assistance to small businesses. This was sponsored by Mayor Hopkins, and it was continued from the July meeting to today. At this time, the litigation is still pending. So I would encourage a motion for continuance for 30 days.
Motion to continue?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Councilwoman Renzulli.
Thank you, Chairman. You can shut me off if this is not an appropriate question. I'm just wondering, do you know how long, do we have any idea when we're going to hear anything about that litigation? I don't want to talk about the litigation, but just, I know August 30th, there was something. I haven't personally gotten an email from our attorney, and I'm just wondering so that some of these institutions will know like how long this money is going to be held hostage for. Anybody? No.
I don't have a definitive answer on the date.
Okay.
I do know that there were subsequent meetings, I believe, that were held, and that date has now been continued. But if anyone has more current information, then I'm open to hearing that.
We need an executive session, right? All right, so I just want to put it out there, whoever knows should probably let us know, because we don't know what's going on, and obviously there's been meetings back and forth since August 30th, so I'm a little personally perturbed that we have no further information since then. I don't know if anyone does, but I know that us, the council as a whole, do not. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion to continue for 30 days? Seeing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Donegan. Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Okay, before we get to new matters before the committee, we'll open up for public comment. Please limit your comments to 4 minutes. We'll begin with any members of the public in person that wish to speak on any docketed items.
Hello, Dominic Fusco, 167 Fiat Avenue, Vice Chair of the School Committee. Tonight on the docket is to approve 2 contracts that the school committee negotiated with our custodians and our tradespeople. Several years ago, the city and the school department came to agreement where, you know, the schools owed the city $5 million. During that time, all of our public unions took pay cuts, took pauses and things of that nature to help the school department recoup. Almost every union has been, I don't want to say made whole, but it's been brought up to close to where they should be, except for our custodians. This contract helps bring them up to where they should, near where they should be. It's a fair contract. The tradespeople is also a fair contract. It's very difficult to hire tradespeople these days, so we had to make a few concessions, but it's a fair contract, and I ask you all to please approve. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Seeing none in person, is there any public comment online?
I see no public comment. Stephen Morocco.
Hello?
Stephen, you have 4 minutes. Name and
Oh.
address for the record, and I'm holding you to the 4 minutes.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll be quick. Steve Morocco, 2 Belle Isle Way, Cranston, Rhode Island. You guys are kicking down the can down the road again on 6/24/01. Don't understand why. If you're saying it's because of council, well, where is your council tonight? He should be there. You have another council that says that neither one of these positions, they go off each other. So you should be voting on this tonight. CLCF has raised over $1.3 million for a new addition where many of you council members went to our opening. We could use that $50,000 to finish the project we started. And you kicking this can down the road does no good to anybody. Besides that, you have money for the schools in there. You have money for Brayton Avenue. You're spending $4.4 million or whatever it is on a pool that's going to be used 6 or 7 weeks a year. We have a facility that's used basically year round, not only for CLCF, not only for the high schools, but there's a walking track around it. There's picnic benches. I just don't get it, guys. The most important thing is your council, your attorney should be there saying why this is being kicked down the road. You have November's coming pretty quick. That's all I'm going to tell you. I'm very disappointed in all of you. This should not be kicked down the road. This should have been voted on last month or the month before. It should be voted on tonight. Thank you.
Is there any further public comment?
I see no public comment.
At this time, public comment is closed. Okay, and I do want to recognize we do have several other elected officials in attendance this evening from our school committee. So I do want to welcome all of you, and we appreciate your presence here this evening and the work that you do. Before us, we do have 2 ordinances. The first is Ordinance 8/2404, ordinance ratifying school committee's collective bargaining agreement with the National Association of Government Employees, Local Rhode Island 153 Custodial Unit. This was pursuant to Charter Section 110201. At this time, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Director Zadelis, is there any information you'd like that you'd be willing to share with the committee about the fiscal impact?
Mr. Chair, with Mr. Balducci, and I haven't had the opportunity since this has been posted, so I will refrain from commenting until I do.
Councilman Donegan, Mr. Balducci is online. He's not able to be present tonight.
Is there a fiscal note attached to this?
Through the chair, I have the contract. I haven't seen the fiscal note. I received the contract as it dovetails onto ours. Ms. Chair, as we formulate next year's budget, yes, we will be in contact with the school department.
I guess we need to know what the fiscal impact is.
Councilman Donovan.
There isn't one attached. That's the issue, but if.
It was sent. Yeah, Michael Crudale, Cranston Public School, Michael Crudale, Cranston Public Schools, Chief Human Resource Officer. The fiscal impact was sent with the ordinance.
For the chair, we do have the fiscal note. There was a problem. I'm not sure if it's linked with the ordinance.
Oh.
There was a problem with links, but we did receive it. On both of the orders.
And yeah, just for the public and anyone that doesn't have it's not linked on the docket. And so that's where I think the confusion is coming from. Yeah, that's, if Mr. Balducci is online and he wishes to, add any context or background to this, the floor is yours, sir.
Through the chair, I've given Mr. Balducci the opportunity to speak. So he should be all set to add comment as needed.
Councilman Paplaskas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was gonna raise the question that you just asked about the fiscal impact analysis, because there is an ordinance on our books, 11.2.1, that speaks about it supposed to be posted 72 hours prior to a meeting regarding the school collective bargaining before we vote. So I'm glad you raised it, because I was gonna ask the same question. Usually it's attached to our packet, and I don't see it. So thank you.
We'll get to it, but it is attached on the next one, but for the custodians, it's not attached. Procedurally, and I guess this is a question for the solicitor, can we refer this out of committee to the full council with with a recommendation to approve pending the receipt of a fiscal note?
My understanding of the way the charter and the ordinance reads, the language I believe that it contains is that shall not be considered. Now, the question is, what is meant by the term considered? Does that mean vote? Does that mean discussion? In listening to the exchange, I'm a little confused factually. Has a fiscal note been prepared is my first question. Is this just in the nature of a scrivener's error, just an attachment?
If I may, the fiscal note was provided to the city council, not to the city council, but when I attached all the documents, they were sent over and they were posted, I believe, with the agenda. Now, why they weren't attached to the docket is, but I mean, I have both fiscal impacts that were sent probably 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe.
My interpretation, and this is my opinion, that the language which uses the term considered suggests to me, my interpretation is that no action should be taken.
And 2-minute recess. Has had the opportunity to review the pertinent city code and charter provisions. Solicitor?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, and a thank you to President Marino. I have read this section several times and knew that the word consideration was part of the provision, but reading the language, it talks about fiscal notes and basically says that they'll be inserted at the end of such ordinance prior to consideration, but it says of the council. So it doesn't seem like it would apply at the committee level. However, it's not going to be able to be legally voted on or possibly even discussed without the fiscal note being attached prior to the council meeting.
Thank you. So at this time, the fiscal note, it's not attached on the agenda. We do have a physical copy that we are all able to review. Based on the solicitor's comment, I'm comfortable with this coming out of committee. This is over the course of the 3-year contract, the total cumulative impact through fiscal year 27 would be just over $1 million. It is a salary increase of, I believe the first year is 4.5%, the second year is 2%, and the third year would be 2% plus a step restructure. As school committee member Fusco stated, these are workers who have sacrificed on behalf of the city to help the city, that do important work in the city, and I think this is a fair contract based on the fiscal impact that we have in front of us. So I would be in support of sending this out of committee with a positive recommendation. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilwoman Renzulli.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't have a vote tonight and I do not, and I spoke to school committee members prior to this to kind of go through this. And I think the custodians are some people that, work the hardest and probably get the least as far as compensation goes. So my question is not directed at that. But I ask a lot of questions and pretty soon you won't have me to ask the question. So I'm going to ask them now. This $1 million, is this something that's going to have to come directly from the city, or is there some kind of plan within the school department to cover some of this? And now it's kind of be a question maybe for Mr. Balducci. I don't know. Is there money in reserves, or are we already?
So for year one, it is budgeted. And then as long as we are appropriately funded for year 2 and 3, it is within the budget for those years. And I don't know if Mr. Balducci is available. He's having a little trouble being unmuted, I guess. And I just want to clarify too, the fiscal note was sent, it just wasn't attached to the docket.
Okay, so year one is fully
Is budgeted.
funded
Yep,
as is.
correct.
And then from there, the increases are expected to come either from the
Or
city
state
or
and lo-
from the state,
and local.
or,
Correct.
but it's not anticipated that there will be an increase in income otherwise through the career and tech schools, through any other means is not anticipated.
Yeah,
It's-
those are projections. I mean, it's nothing I could speak to for 2 years down the line
Okay.
as far as increases to career.
I'm so sorry.
Hi, good evening. Can anybody hear me?
Yep.
So, thank you. Councilman Renzulli, to answer your question, and I believe Mr. Crudale also answered it, the first year of the contract, 24-25, he is correct, that it has been built into our budget and can be supported. 25, 26, 26, 27, we as a district will always look internally to take care of our contractual obligations with minimal impact to the city. But I can't guarantee you this evening that may not happen. Our 2 biggest revenue sources, of course, are both the city of Cranston and the state of Rhode Island. So with continued appropriate funding, the answer is yes, these contracts can be afforded. I believe, Mr. Fusco was dead on. This Bogdan unit in particular, when we were struggling several years ago, between salary concessions and reduced benefits, they were impacted negatively about 30%. So over the last couple of contract cycles, we've been trying to get them on a better footing. And I believe this contract does that. And you mentioned it yourself. These people are not your, what I'll say, typical custodian. They go above and beyond. They assist. I'll give you a perfect example. When we moved Gladstone Elementary School to 2 different locations, we did not hire an outside contractor. Our custodians moved all of the furnishing from one site to 2 different sites internally. So we did not have to go out and hire a moving company to do that. So this is just another example of what they do for the residents of the city of Cranston, in particular, the school children.
Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Balducci. I do agree that the custodians are some of the hardest workers in the city of Cranston School Department. I do see them often as I work at schools after school hours. They're there, at basketball games until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So I agree with you. I just want to put out there to everyone else that this $1 million is going to have to come from somewhere. So, through 2027. So I think sometimes we tend to approve things and then wonder, when we get to that point, like forget that maybe that we approved this 4 years ago and that there's going to have to be give and take, whether through the school department or the city. If more money is not coming into the city, then cuts are going to have to be either made at the city or the school department. And that shouldn't be a surprise when 2027 comes. So I'm just saying it now. So when 2027 comes, I can pull this video and say that I said it. So if we approve this, then we have to note that we might have to cut something else if the extra money is not coming in to the city, or we're going to have to raise taxes. That's how things work. The school department does have, few streams of income, but we have to think about that now. Otherwise, it's just going to, in 2027, we can't say, hey, we don't have money for this if we don't start planning for it now. Same thing on the school department's end. Thank you.
Is there any other comment? Councilman.
I would definitely have to concur with Vice Chairman Fusco. I've sat, and Mr. Crudale also knows, sat in numerous negotiations. And I can certainly say over the years, I had heard it echoed a number of times that this collective bargaining unit had gave money up for the benefit of the city and benefit of the school department. And they hadn't been, I think the phrase, ever returned after, I'm gonna say over a decade. And I also can say in numerous projects, they do go above and beyond. They work overtime. They helped us with a lot of school beforehand when we did construction and stuff like that. They did a lot of stuff in-house. I think this is a time when we have to take care of them. So I certainly, looking at the numbers, I will definitely be in favor of this.
Seeing no further comment, clerk, please take a roll.
Councilman Donegan? Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Councilwoman Horayan?
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas?
Yes.
Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Councilman Marino?
Yes.
Okay, next we have ordinance 08-2405, ordinance ratifying school committee's CBA with Rhode Island Laborers District Council 1322 tradespeople mechanic unit pursuant to Charter Section 11021. We do have a fiscal note that is included. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
We have a second? We have a second. Okay. Any discussion? Is there any comment from Mr. Balducci?
Yeah, I would
From-
just like to add with this group, this is a total of 11 members. We have 8. I'm up first, Joe. We have 8 tradespeople that consist of our 2. I want you to kind of keep this in mind. We have 26 buildings. We have 2 electricians. We have 2 HVAC people. We have 2 plumbers. And we have 2 carpenters that handle all of our trade repairs, whether it's heating, plumbing, electrical, is done with these 8 individuals. Then we have our 3 mechanics that handle a very large fleet of large and small buses. So that's the group you're looking at tonight. Again, go above and beyond. I like to say that we probably have anywhere between, 5,000 and 6,000 toilets with 2 plumbers. So something to think about with this group. It's a small group. The fiscal impact is there. Actually, Mr. Zadelis has my copy, so I'm kind of not looking at it at this point, but I got it on my phone. But Mr. Balducci, if you have any comments related to the fiscal impact.
No, Mr. Crudale, the only thing I'll add is the $2 is a approximate 5% increase. And the second year, the $1.25 is an approximate 3.2% increase in percentage.
The other note too is it's only a 2-year contract with this group as opposed to a 3, and that was at their request. They were looking for a 2-year contract. They wanted to get off of the cycle as being on, with all of the other bargaining units. They wanted to kind of move off that cycle, so they only requested a 2-year contract.
And the question, so the effective date being July 1st, 2024, those increases will be retroactive and they'll be back paid for them.
Yep.
Okay.
Both contracts will be retroactive. I don't know what he's watching.
Why don't we, I think we can mute Mr. Balducci.
Party.
Do you, yeah.
I hear what you said.
I'm sorry, I'm just a little confused and I'm sorry if I missed it, and this has to maybe do with the retroactive comment. That this says July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2024. Well, I'm looking at, this is 082405, right? That's the agreement, and then the school committee lists people who are no longer on the school committee. Is there a reason?
The,
Like a 2-page document.
Councilwoman Renzulli.
Thank you. My questions just stay the same. I want to be consistent about the budget. Is this budgeted for, how many years is this already budgeted for?
Yep, so year 1 is budgeted, and year 2, similar to Mr. Balducci's comments on the last one, I mean, we try to budget internally first, and then we look to the appropriations from both the city and the state if we need to. But year 1 of the 2-year contract is already budgeted.
Okay, then my comments remain the same, that as we go forward to the next year, we need to remember now that we are approving this and that the school department does not know that it cannot cover it on their own, that they will make concessions, I hope if needed, but that the city's gonna have to come up with the money. So every time we approve something, we need to think forward on how we're gonna pay for it, because the money, while the people deserve the money in both of these contracts, and in, I think most of the contracts that get approved, if we're not planning a stream of income to cover it, then every year when we do the budget, it's gonna be the same conversation of, why don't we have money for this? So if we don't have extra money coming in, then stuff's gonna have to get cut somewhere. So I'm just making a note of that, and I think that these employees are more than deserving of their raises. But we have to think about that, because I just, in 2 years, don't want to see a press release about how we don't have money to pay for this when this council is approving it. Thank you.
Councilman Ferry.
I would be in favor of approving this tonight. And given the thought that if you have good employees, you need to pay them a fair wage. You have to keep up with inflation. If we want to attract the best people, to have the best employees, sometimes you have to give them a raise, and it's just part of doing business. So I'm in favor of approving this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President.
Thank you. I would like to say I call the tradespeople, the mechanics units, the kind of behind the scenes machines. I have great admiration for what they do because they often do it humbly and they really move the mountains for the schools and our students in ways that people don't realize. I value trade skills more than people realize because I don't have a lot of them myself. But I'm fortunate to know some people that do. And I appreciate the hard work that the school department did in negotiating this contract and the preceding contract that we discussed. The custodians as well. They're a little bit more in the forefront where, at least from a parent's perspective over the years, you see them more in the schools and you can say thank you or give them some appreciation and express it. And I know they appreciate that as well, but it's nice to give them the compensation that they deserve, given the sacrifice that they've made. And I also think that it's not lost on anyone in this room, nor has it been lost on prior councils, the need to have a balanced budget, the need to afford the increases that we are going to be paying our employees throughout the city. And the school department has had a good track record of recent years, including being, applauded by the, administration, top level down of the surplus that comes from the school department that benefits the city as a whole. So I trust Mr. Balducci and his years of experience with balancing the school department's budget and everyone within the school administration in giving these numbers, that these are numbers that we can depend on going forward. And I'll be in favor of this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Wall.
I can also sit in the room many times during negotiations, hearing, I think the phrase that Mr. Balducci used to like to use when we talk about the tradespeople, cost savings. That if we were to go out in the open market to find someone to do some of the work that these people in this collective bargaining unit do, we would pay 2 to 3 times more. And he would reiterate that raise is definitely, and I agree, I'm going to be in support of it, money well spent, because we had to hire outside. It would cost us more. And I know it is a raise and we definitely have to balance the budget. Everybody here knows that. But I think sometimes when we're not seeing that taking care of these people, we're saving money going forward to some extent too.
Councilwoman Renzulli.
Thank you, Chairman. I won't say anything else after this. I just want to make clear that my comments have nothing to do with paying the people that these contracts are for. My comments are in a broader sense of we need to plan out on how we're going to pay them because they deserve the money. And I really hate when it comes down to a back and forth and kind of gets a political lens on why the money is not there. We can't be giving contracts and then not plan how to fund them, no matter who's funding them. So that was my point, not that I think everyone that works for the school department, because I think the school department is one of the hardest working departments in the entire city. But if we don't plan on how to pay them, then I would say it's on us, and a lot of us might not be here when it comes to fruition, that the money is not there to fund the contracts. And we have to raise, and that council or that administration needs to raise taxes, and then people are upset. So we need to put our money where our mouth is. And when we negotiate these contracts and we want to retain good employees or we want to bring in good employees, that's fantastic. Now let's fund them and let's have a plan on how to fund them. And let's not pretend that that's not, the most important thing outside of negotiating the contracts. I just want to make that clear that that's where I stand. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk, please take a roll.
Councilman Donegan? Councilman Donegan? I'm sorry. Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan? Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas?
Yes.
Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Council President Marino?
Yes.
Okay, next we have,
Thank you, council.
thank you. Next, we have real estate tax abatements. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please take a roll.
Councilman Donegan? Councilwoman Horoyan? Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas?
Yes.
Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Council President Marino?
Yes.
Next, we have motor vehicle tax abatements. entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please take a roll.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Council President Reno.
Yes.
There are no tangible tax abatements. There's no tax assessor board of review. There are no tax interest waiver approvals, and there are no tax interest waiver denials. Lastly, we have on the docket under communications, grants for lead enforcement. We are fortunate this evening to have Peter Assen from the Rhode Island HUD office to talk to us a little bit about some funding mechanisms and funding opportunities. If we could please pull up the slide deck.
Thank you. I do have copies of my slides for the members as well. Thank you. Peter Asen. I live at 245 Armington Street in Cranston, and I work for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development as the Rhode Island Field Office Director. In terms of the issue of lead enforcement, I did reach out to Chairman Donegan on his recent resolution just to let him know that there are several, many jurisdictions or across the country have paired kind of the stick of enforcement with the carrot of using federal funding to help remediate lead hazards in their communities. And I wanted to just share some opportunities around that. Next slide. Just wanted to share also our office field policy and management is the front door of HUD in the state of Rhode Island. We have a office open to the public in downtown Providence. We are also reachable by phone and email, and just sharing the contact information for our 3-person staff for the field policy management team for any constituent concerns that any of your constituents have with HUD assisted housing or any issues related to HUD. We're happy to assist any of our customers from the department at any time, which we consider the customers to be the residents as well as the city of Cranston as an entitlement community, organizations seeking to advance affordable housing, and everyone in between. Next slide. The issue of lead hazard enforcement and lead funding and healthy homes funding, which I'll speak about more broadly, is related to a strategic initiative of the department to advance sustainable communities, one of the key kind of areas of the department's strategic plan. This work is done through the Office of Lead Hazard Control and Healthy Homes, which is a national HUD office that works throughout the country. Next slide. The Office of Lead Hazard Control and Healthy Homes primarily, the biggest part of its work is awarding grants to state, tribal, and local governments, as well as to nonprofit organizations. The office also does have a role in monitoring, enforcing HUD's lead-safe housing rules, and also does some public outreach and funds research in this area as well. Next slide. I think the council, has worked on this area, is very familiar with this issue, but just wanted to share. Lead has been the biggest focus of this office, but there really are a number of other healthy housing issues that some of our funds can work on. And this slide just kind of shows you a lot of the different health problems that are associated with some of these different health hazards, as well as the impacts to both kind of your individual constituents and families, but also to the city and to our society as a whole in terms of the healthcare costs of some of these issues, educational attainment, and even public safety and criminal behavior. Next slide. There are about 23 million homes across the country with significant lead paint hazards, and 3.3 million American households with children under the age of 6 who live in homes with these kind of hazards. So that those are significant numbers. Certainly there's some, these issues are significant across the state of Rhode Island and in the city of Cranston. The department sees this as a environmental issue and a racial justice issue as well. And that investing in reducing lead hazards can benefit not only the landlord or the homeowner, the tenants, as well as future tenants who have yet to move into that apartment as well. I know there's work being done also around lead pipes, for example, in the state and across the country, but we can't just kind of address lead pipes without also addressing lead paint within the home. Next slide. So the work that this office has done with the kind of interventions that we funded, there is research showing that it's more cost effective than conventional maintenance work. As mentioned, we see prevention saving lives and money, helping to improve outcomes for people's health and in our schools. Some of this work in a lot of cases can also help reduce utility costs when we're looking at some of the other healthy home interventions, fixing water leaks, replacing doors and windows, that people can, you know, the homeowner or the tenants can save money with those kind of interventions as well as all the other benefits. Next slide. The department has really moved it from not just lead hazard control, but the broader kind of healthy homes approach. And I want to share some information on some of the specific grant opportunities. Unfortunately, a lot of them have recently just passed their deadlines for this year, but it's actually a perfect time for the city to begin planning to pursue some of these funds for next year. The Joe Miller from the Office of Lead Hazard Control and Healthy Homes, who put this together with me, mentioned that, of course, when the notice of funding opportunities open, the HUD staff can't really have that much engagement with individual applicants and talk to them about their application. But in this period of time before the next grants are open, it is much easier for us to work with you, provide input on whatever planning that you might be doing. The most significant grant, or actually, sorry, the new grant that would be a great one, I think, for the city to consider is the capacity building grants, which is a new thing that HUD established because they realized that some grantees were getting the regular lead hazard control grants and taking quite a while to kind of get off the ground, get all the systems in place to be able to have a program. So these are grants that can last for up to 3 years. This year, the notice just closed and the applications were for $500,000 to $2.5 million, and there was $50 million available nationally. Some of this can be used if within that 3-year grant, all the systems are in place, all the staff is built, or the partnerships are in place to be able to have the program get going. The funds can also be used for lead interventions and for, say, piloting some of the work that could happen later on with additional lead grants. It's just that this gives you the chance to kind of do that capacity building at the outset. Next slide. The main lead hazard reduction and grants, which this year were paired with what's called Healthy Home Supplemental Funding. These are grants that can last up to 4 years. I'm going to show the information about current grants within the state. There are some communities that have these. This year, the notice was open from June to August, and the grants were from $1 to $7 million per applicant, and $470 million available nationwide. Up to $700,000 in a request can go towards the healthy home interventions, which is addressing kind of other health issues other than lead, so that you go into a home and it's a more efficient and beneficial thing for the beneficiaries of it to be able to address some other issues while you're in the home doing that work. Next slide. This can just give you an example. Here's some of the things that the lead hazard control funding would address, the traditional kind of lead issues. The Healthy Home Supplemental Funding, you can be then going to address things like radon, HVAC, mold, moisture, rodent issues. And in some cases, those types of issues could be the things that help draw the homeowner, the landlord into the program potentially, and not just that kind of a lead poisoning or a lead issue is what brings people to a city to benefit from this. The third column is more in some communities, there have been opportunities to try to find what are other federal funds, other grant funds, other programs that can be combined again, for example, with like a weatherization program. So that's something that we see as a best practice and really encourage communities to try to do as well. Next slide. The Healthy Home Production Program is a grant that allows you to address all those different issues that I talked about. Lead is actually a part of it, so it doesn't exclude lead. It's just that it's an opportunity for you to say, we're going to seek funding and use it on all of these issues, depending on kind of what the concerns that we have in the community and what are the things that come up. Those grants can last 3.5 years or do last 3.5 years. They are, this year, the notice was open in July and just closed. It was for $1 to $2 million requests and $40 million grants total. One small difference between this and some of the other grants is that the other grants are primarily open to just state and local government agencies. The Healthy Home Production Program is also open to nonprofit organizations. So if the city was seeking to kind of partner with a nonprofit agency doing work in this area, this would be a good potential approach. Next slide. This is the one grant that has not already been open yet this year. The most recent notice closed last October, the Older Adult Home Modification Program. The last notice that we had, there was $30.5 million available, grants from 500,000 to 1.25 million. This grant program is does limit half the funding has to go to rural areas, but there's still a significant amount of funding to, for other areas to address modifications to homes that older adults may need, which can be homeowners and renters. For all these programs, generally, we're looking at people at 80% of the area median income or below. With this program, you have to have some involvement of like an occupational therapist who would be able to say these are modifications that a particular resident would need. Next slide. This is just to share, these are the current grants within the state of Rhode Island that have been awarded through this office. The city of Woonsocket and the city of Providence do have the lead grants in place. The Green and Healthy Homes Initiative is a nonprofit that has that Healthy Homes Production Grant. Their application is geared towards just working within the city of Providence, and that's what they're doing now with that funding. Rhode Island Housing has a different kind of lead grant that the department had several years ago, which is not, we don't currently have in the same way, but the idea was to focus on particular high impact census tracts with kind of the largest amounts of lead poisoning issues. So under that grant, there's portions of the cities of Central Falls, Pawtucket, Newport, and East Providence that they fund work in this area. Though I do have an understanding with some of their other funding that they can support, lead remediation work in Cranston and other parts of the state as well. Next slide. I know that you all are maybe short on time tonight. I am certainly happy to answer any questions anyone has at this time, if appropriate. And I'm also happy to talk to any members individually or anybody else that's interested. I also shared the contact information for Joe Miller from the Office of Lead Hazard Control. But prior to joining the department, in the last couple of years, she spent 25 years working as a consultant and with some national nonprofits in this area. So she has a great amount of experience with helping people who were seeking, this funding in the past. Thank you again for your interest in this, and I'm happy to try to be of help to the city however I can.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate you hanging with us a little bit later than maybe we anticipated, but the reason I had asked Peter to come this evening is, obviously last month we passed the resolution encouraging the administration to identify funding mechanisms for lead enforcement. And in addition to lead enforcement, there are also, as pointed out this evening, there have been opportunities to address healthy homes and receive funding to do that. Peter, one question I have is, in terms of the older adult home modification program is the one that hasn't opened up yet this year. Is that any insight into when that might happen?
I don't have direct exact knowledge of the timing of that. I do think that it could be soon, definitely. I also know from speaking to the office in terms of some of those other grants that they seek to really get them out earlier in the calendar year normally, and that this year there were some staffing issues and other challenges, but there's certainly potential that in 2025, some of those grants that I just pointed out that closed recently could actually open up sooner, next year as well. So preparing to pursue any of those would be appropriate at this point.
Do you know, does the office do, how much communication goes on between the office and, the League of Cities and Towns about these opportunities, or with the infrastructure bank, or, local entities to encourage applications. And I mean that as an authentic, a genuine question, because sitting where I am, I really don't know kind of what communications go on between.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that's a big part of, that national office doesn't really do that, but my local office, that's a big part of, I think, what we want to do. And I've only been working with the department for just under a year, but with some of these recent grants that did come out, I sent, one email to several of the larger cities, for example, but I know that in the future, I'd like to do more with that. I actually did just do a recent presentation to the League of Cities and Towns that was kind of broader about all the things HUD is doing in the state as a whole. But I'm certainly open to any suggestions that you or anyone has around other ways we can do outreach around some of this. One of the things just with like this office though, for example, is that they have an email list that even if I share that with people, you can sign up, and any new opportunities they have, that you would be notified of those, so, yes, I think in Rhode Island, this is a big issue. And for me overall with the position at HUD, I think the more federal resources that I can help people with bringing into the state, that's what I think a big part of what I'm trying to do.
Thank you. And I'll just say one last thing, and then I'll open it up to the rest of the committee. Each year I bring up the issue of lead poison, and each year we're going to continue, and hopefully someone else continues to bring up the issue of lead poisoning, because it's still an issue, and it's going to still continue to be an issue until we do something to eradicate it. And the funding is there. We just need to have the will to get it. And so I hope someone will continue with that. Councilwoman Renzulli.
Thank you, Councilman, and I will praise Councilman Donegan because he does bring this issue up often, and this does mostly affect, the youngest members of our community. And so I want to understand, did you say we could subscribe? Because I work for the state, and I work with grants, and I subscribe to things on grants.gov. So is there a way, could you tell us exactly how we can subscribe to get the updates, so that we could perhaps have our grant writer subscribe? So then the grant writer will get them, and anyone here can get them to bring it up as well, because it's, partly our responsibility to tell our grant writer what we want. But I subscribe to all different, grant websites so that I get them personally. And if that's what, the will to bring it up, that's something we could suggest, or whoever's here after that can figure it out.
Yes, I mean, these are federal grants, so certainly you can do grants.gov and say you want to be notified about certain departments and certain things, but I also would just specifically mention HUD.gov/lead brings you to the page for the Office of Lead Hazard Control and Healthy Homes, and they have their own specific kind of email newsletter, which I think would be even better in terms of things like when they have, a briefing about a webinar about a grant opportunity. They did some of those with some of those recent things, or being able to go see on their site now some of the ones they did for this year, which again could help kind of inform for a future application. There certainly could be some small changes from year to year in the notice of funding opportunity, but in general, it's likely that knowing what was requested and needed this year and the details this year would be fairly similar.
Great. Thank you so much.
Other comments from the committee? All right, at this time, thank you, Peter, very much. Seeing no other business before us, at this time, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
This is a special meeting of the Cranston City Council on Monday, September 9th at 7:30. At this time, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry,
Present.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Here.
Councilwoman Horoyan,
Present.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano, Councilman Paplaskas,
Present.
Councilman Wall,
Here.
Council Vice President Vargas, Council President Marino.
Present. We have one matter, which is the introduction of new business, being 9-24-01, ordinance approving the 2024 comprehensive plan of the city of Cranston as recommended by the Planning Commission, sponsored by Council President, to be referred to a special ordinance committee meeting on September 26, 2024. This is, again, we're not going to be discussing it substantively. This is just a requirement so that it will be heard in committee. And at that point, we will discuss it substantively before it goes to the full council. I see Director Pizzulo here this evening. Do you wish to be heard, Director Pizzulo? Thank you.
Thank you. So, Plan Commission adopted the comprehensive plan that you have in front of you. I hope that as we were developing this, we're following along with the plan as it developed. If there's any will to have a workshop before the ordinance committee, staff is more than happy to do that so that the ordinance committee is not the first time that this full body sees it. It's 220 plus pages. So I just offer that to the rest of the council. And we can set a date and we'd be happy to do that and walk through the plan before we get to the official ordinance committee meeting.
Thank you, Director Pizzulo. As you know, all along this process, I reached out to your office on multiple occasions, offered joint workshops with the Plan Commission, and those were rejected. So here we are. The plan has been updated. I've been following along with the videos, and I think one meeting I was able to attend in person, at least in part. But I understand others haven't. So I am always up for workshops. I wish they would have happened previously, and it's not through lack of desire on the council's end. If you can work with the clerk, communicate with the clerk to try and find mutually convenient time that's going to occur before that ordinance committee meeting, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Motion to refer to the special meeting on September 26th.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Ferry?
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Horoyan?
Yes.
Councilman Donegan? Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Councilman Paplaskas?
Yes.
Councilman Wall?
Yes.
Council President Marino?
Yes. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
To adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Good evening.